Adhiambo in Nairobi, and we welcome our viewers in Kenya and around the world to Checkpoint. As we take a global look to advocate issues affecting public attitudes in health, education, sports, arts and culture. First and foremost, let's have the news headlines. Nigerian army uses Trump rhetoric to justify shooting at rock-throwing activities. The Nigerian army on Friday seized on the inflammatory immigrant rhetoric of President Donald Trump to justify shooting at about 1,000 protesters in the capital city Abuja earlier this week. Trump on Thursday used what was purported to be a policy announcement on the asylum system to lash at Democrats, the slow-moving group of Central American asylum seekers making its way through Mexico. What Anthony Marichal said after helping Manchester United beat Everton. Manchester United edged out Everton by 2-1 during their domestic league meeting on Sunday to move into 10th place in the league standing. The French international provided the opening goal in the first half. He then went to score their second goal. The unsettled winger, who recently said he wants to leave Old Trafford, then talked on his Twitter handle by saying, "Great win and thanks to the fans for your amazing support. At Manchester United, #thanks God." Public university graduate student is almost at crisis level in Tunisia. It is taking an average of 6 years for a public graduate to find a job. By the age of 35, half of all university graduates in Tunisia is still unemployed and looking for a job, as mobility from school to work is very low. After taking a look at these three global stories, our main focus will be about the Kenyan employers preferring graduates from private universities to public universities. A new study conducted by Moi University Schools of Education notes that graduates from private universities are more competent and exude high personal confidence as opposed to their counterparts in the public universities. Private universities seem to be more in touch with what employers expect from them, and they prepare their students accordingly. Moi University's Charles Motanya told the 13th conference of the Association of African Universities held in Libreville. Join our discussion using our Twitter handle at Norah Adhiambo. I can see some messages from our viewers have started streaming in. At Charlotte Queen says that it is true some private universities graduates are being preferred when it comes to employment because it is perceived they are well behaved. Our reporter Marion Nekesa went out to the field to find out more about what people think on our topic of discussion. Take a look.
There are so many university graduates who have been looking for a job with no success. Others decide to go back to school to learn something different, thinking that this will at least give them the first priority when it comes to getting a job, but the case still remains the same. Most students from private universities believe that after graduation it will be easy for them to get a job since they studied in a private university. On the other hand, students from public universities are not sure if it will be possible for them to get a job easily after graduation. When it comes to employers, most prefer hiring graduates from private university rather than those from public universities. This for the reason being that they believe that the former are better qualified since they studied in a conducive environment as compared to the latter. Others, however, believe that public universities make good candidates for the job market because of the hardships they encounter in school. This is a big issue and challenge for the public university graduates since some know private university graduates who are employed while they fail to get a job. Public university students can only but hope and ask that prospective employers take them seriously and keep the doors of employment open for them as well. Mario Nekesa reporting for Checkpoint.
The reason why I chose to come to a private university is because before I joined, I did a statistics of employment opportunities between the private university and the public university. And according to the statistics that I do, is that more employment opportunities are to the private university because they are given a higher reputation. The reason as to I came to Daystar University is because I went to a public university in Mombasa, and after graduating, I started hustling to get jobs. I went for some job interviews, but the best I could actually get was being enrolled for some internships for some months. Then I go to another company, intern, another one. So I got tired, and I remember my last interview. I went to this a radio station, and some of the some of my colleagues that went there for interviews were from some private universities around Kenya, and almost, okay, let's say all of them got the job, and I ended up being like, I wasn't able to get that job. So after that, like, I had a bit of questioning. I just questioned myself, like, what's the reason, like, uh, to get a job in Kenya, you have to go to a private university. So I decided to join Daystar University, just gain more knowledge, and see, maybe at the end of it all, maybe I'll acquire a job.
Most people who enroll to private universities do not do this necessarily because they think private universities are better than public universities, but mainly because of the courses offered there. Maybe the courses they want to enroll in are best served in that particular university. And there are some courses which are best served in public universities. So even if a student wants to enroll in private universities simply because they think that is better, they cannot, because that course is best offered in the public university.
Thank you, Marion. Now let's have a look at another comment. At Faith Nathans says that finding a job when you are a public university graduate is not easy unless you have connections. Today I'm joined live with our experts who are going to tell us more about our topic of the day. Our first expert is Mr. Ibrahim Haitham, HR manager from Zakim Company. We are also joined by Dr. Fred Waga, a lecturer from Public and Private University. Lastly, we have Nelly Aoko, a former student from Public University. Welcome all to our studio. Now let's start with you, Mr. Haitham Ibrahim. Tell us about the competence of the two graduates.
Hello, thank you Norah for having me today. Mr. Haitham Ibrahim from Zakim International Construction in Kenya. I've been working with this company for 6 years straight. Since 2012, I've been employing people from different backgrounds, from different nationalities. We work for the government. We usually take government projects like pipelines, water lines, roads, and matters like that. As from my experience here in this field and domain, and in this country, specifically in this country, I have noticed that private universities have more exposure than public universities. In that I mean, us, like contractors and employers for students and graduates that come from both public and private universities, we tend to know those private universities better. We hear about them in news, we hear about them everywhere, we see their curriculums, we see people graduating from there who come and try to get jobs in our offices. That's one. Two, the curriculum itself in private universities is better than the curriculum in public universities. And that I mean, they are exposed better, the teachers follow up with the students more, the teachers are more qualified, some of them are doctors, some of them come from abroad, so they know the work environment very properly. So that's why we tend to employ private university students more than public university students. We rarely have boycotts in Zakim. Boycotts usually comes in case from general laborers, not from graduates. Why? Graduates, you know, when you're in school, people are together. There's a lot of people, and power comes with people. But when they separate after graduation, everyone is on his own. Their own job is on the line. So when you start boycotting at work, no one will be happy with you. And it will end up you going home. That means losing your job. in a bad way. You will never get a recommendation letter, you might be somewhere dismissed, and that will be bad for you. So usually boycotting at work doesn't happen from private university students or public university students. I think the government itself should have a special program where people will work hand in hand with teachers, with lecturers from public universities, and see what does those universities need, what are they lacking, what is the market these days, how can we improve this university, how can we expose those students more and more to people. That's one. Two, knowing that the public university which belongs to the government, I think the government itself should assist those students to find more jobs. It can employ them in fields they know about. They should lecture companies like us come to us and ask us to employ people from public universities, just to make it fair for everyone to have a nice opportunity of work. Then it should give them extra curriculums. It should work on the curriculum better. It should expose them to work better. It should guide them better. So this is the best way to expose those students and let it be a fair play between them and the students outside from private universities.
Thank you. To you, Dr. Fred Waga, please explain to us the difference in the teaching curriculum between the public and private university.
Actually, universities have curriculums developed by their settings. So I'd imagine that for all universities, not just public and private, I'd imagine that for all universities, the curriculum cannot be uniform. There will be difference because every student designs a different curriculum for their students. So it is not just private and public. I would say that every university has a different curriculum, in the sense that they're designed by their different qualities. In that sense, you cannot have universities that are private, whether they are private or public. You really cannot have a standardized curriculum. You may have certain topics that are covered which are similar, but the curriculum is seldom the same. I think for the experience, when you teach in public and you teach in private universities, there's a bit different because there's a lot more attention to the student in public universities, because I suppose that the student number is much, much lower. But I tend to believe, I tend to think that the work ethic is also different in public universities and when you compare to private universities. I find the students work harder in public universities than they do in some of the private universities that I've taught in. I don't know why that is the case, but I'd imagine that's because I think the competition of getting into public universities is much, much higher. So I think because of the fact that you're fighting for limited spaces, you find that the level of competition is carried throughout the course. So you find that there's more attention to perhaps class. Attendance may not be high, but we'll talk about that later. But you find that in public universities, you find that the work ethic is different. It's it's very, very different from many of the private universities that I've taught. Which is not to say that they're better, it's just different. I think the structure is different, therefore perhaps the engagement with their work is different. I find that a lot more research goes into perhaps the work of students in public university than perhaps in private university, where I think in many cases I've seen that there's a lot of reliance on the lecturer to provide all the reading materials, whereas there's no independence on the part of the student in public universities. Well, I think public universities do not really do not place a premium on attendance. I think I think they give a premium on how you do the course. You do the assignments, and you do the examinations, and you do the classwork. That is where the premium is. They really don't pay too much attention to attendance, because I think that is more or less, I don't think it is, I would not say it's an American system, but I just think that they don't pay emphasis on attendance. Because for them, even participation is not really a major requirement, like perhaps would in a private university. And perhaps that is maybe the edge that maybe students in private universities have, because now they are compelled to contribute to discussions, and contributions is part of the learning process, and maybe that perhaps gives them an advantage in that they are better able to interact perhaps among scholars, because they've got this perhaps experience in interactions. In public universities, you can just sit in class and listen to the lecturer and go home, do your own reading. But my thinking is this, is that university education is supposed to be designed such that students spend more of their time doing their own research, rather than relying on perhaps the teaching instructions. And maybe because we rely too much on getting instructions, maybe because of our schooling system, we tend to want more from our lecturers in terms of now giving you the reading material. I think by and large the reading material, most of it should come from the university libraries and other sources, so that you get into the habit of doing your own research. That would be how I look at that area of attendance in classroom. So for me, attendance may not really be a very key prerequisite, so long as you are able to perhaps go on your own and do your own research, so that you can become a better scholar.
Thank you, Dr. Waga. Lastly, let's hear from Nelly Aoko. Please explain to us the difference in the learning environment between the public and private university.
Thank you, Nora. The teaching curriculum in these different universities, there's the public universities and the private universities. It is so obvious that the public universities do not get equal attention to how private universities get attention. That is why they're called private universities. You find that in public universities, the lecturers tend to hold a very huge number of students compared to the number of students in private universities, whereby you can find in a class there are a lot of people, and so it is easier, it is just common sense and easier that you can handle a small group compared to a bigger group. And so that is why private universities are, I wouldn't say that private universities are kind of better than public universities in terms of teaching curriculum, while handling a big number would be quite hectic. And so we'll find that 2,000 students, you cannot just issue a class list for signing to 2,000 students. You'll have to need almost 20 copies. And within these 20 copies, you're not guaranteed that you're going to get all these copies back as a lecturer. And so maybe you will find that one got lost in the middle, one got lost at the front. And so you cannot be able to be accountable for the number of students who are there, because one person would come and say that they were in class and they signed, but you do not have the proof because maybe the signing sheet got lost in the middle. And so it is quite hectic compared to, again, Daystar here, where class attendance is taken so seriously. In Daystar, you cannot miss classes more than 3 times. It is an automatic fail, and that makes it easy because you strive to go to class, and that helps you as a student to gain more in your academics.
Thank you all for your time. This brings us to the end of the expert segments. There is a comment from Neema Atieno, who says that it doesn't matter which school you study at, what matters is your level of education and the skills you have. I have read all your opinion and I agree with you all, but I think it will be better if all the companies will accept both public and private undergraduate students when looking for a job. The managers should not judge them by looking at the schools they study at, rather they should concentrate on how much knowledge they have and how educated they are concerning the work area. That's all we had for you today. I have been your host, Norah Adhiambo.